We're starting a new chapter, chapter 21, entitled Reason and Perception. Today we'll be reading both the introduction as well as section 1, called The Forgotten Song. This session is dedicated in memory to Julie Kessler. Welcome to Miracles on High Plains. My name is Jonaca, your host, and our reader for today is David S.
Projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. Therefore, to you, it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Perception is a result and not a cause. And that is why order of difficulty in miracles is meaningless. Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy. Nothing perceived without it means anything. And where there is no meaning, there is chaos.
Mm-hmm. So there are laws of perception, and they are laid out here. If they are initially difficult for you to grasp, it's because we weren't taught these things. In fact, many people assume a different set of laws altogether. And that is, they assume that the world you see outside is independent of your internal state, and that the world outside seems to be the cause of your reacting to it. That would be quite common. The Course says, no, it's deeper than that. There's things that are going on within the mind that you didn't recognize. And that basically can be summed up as, first, you accept an idea into your mind and you believe it. And then you hold that idea in your mind, and holding it in your mind, you then go through life looking for evidence that it's true. This is called projection. You project what you already believe out onto the world, and then inevitably you find examples that demonstrate that your projections are true. And then this becomes your interpretation. Those beliefs that I have, my projections are true. And so it becomes self-reinforcing. And this is how we believe that illusions are real. This is how we believe that our grievances with other people are meaningful. This is how we believe that our judgments about ourselves and the world are true. So all that are the laws of perception, which are part of the laws of mind. What you should also know is that there are two different starting points for the laws of perception. And one is based on a belief in lack and limitations and fear and judgment, and another is based on the belief of abundance and unlimited love and innocence and forgiveness. And that's where you have your free will comes into play. You get to choose which of those platforms you look out upon the world. So we would say then that your perceptions, your interpretations, the things that you believe in your mind to be true are not caused by the world, but they are a result of your experience of looking for them. And so that is why order of difficulty in miracles is meaningless, because all thoughts are essentially of the same order. They're not, there's not some thoughts that are of a higher order than other thoughts. And therefore, no one thought is any more powerful or has a hierarchy within your mind than any other thought. You can choose among them. And that's part of where we're going today with this, is choosing among your thoughts.
Damnation is your judgment on yourself, and this you will project upon the world. See it as damned, and all you see is what you did to hurt the Son of God. If you behold disaster and catastrophe, you tried to crucify him. If you see holiness and hope, you join the will of God to set him free. There is no choice that lies between these two decisions, and you will see the witness to the choice you made and learn from this to recognize which one you chose. The world you see but shows you how much joy you have allowed yourself to see in you and to accept as yours. And if this is its meaning, then the power to give it joy must lie within you.
So just the laws of perception, the laws of mind, I maintain that if you stick with this long enough, those are fairly easy to learn and understand. That's not, it's just like any other law. You learn this is the way it works. What's that then becomes a point of entry into a deeper process of questioning and understanding. And it has, there are only two, as we said a moment ago, there are only two possible directions you can go there. One is you can take the ego's approach, which is one of self-condemnation, of finding fault with your self-criticism. And this can go to extremes of self-debasement, self-loathing, and self-destruction. That's where it heads. But it begins with a basic sense of dissatisfaction with one's self-concept. That would be the ego's starting point. And that has vast implications for how you feel about yourself and how you relate to others. The other win, which we will focus on today in our reading, is where one recognizes how much joy is a part of your spiritual being, how your true and eternal self was created by an infinitely loving creator and has, as a result of that inheritance, all the attributes of an infinitely loving being, which comes with joy and peace and innocence, purity, holiness. And if you can get past all the obstacles that the ego puts in the way, you can then connect with this part of your true self. And only here can peace and joy and love be found. And as a result of finding that in yourself, the world you see shows you how much joy you have, because you've allowed yourself to see the joy in you and accept it as yours. And this gives new meaning to life, for sure. This redefines every encounter you will ever have. It redefines your life purpose. It redefines how you see yourself and your role in the bigger plan. And so it is in your power to give meaning and joy to life. This is the deeper truth. It is in your power to choose to use your mind as a partner with Holy Spirit and choose to be joyful. Just a little aside about 2013. So that would be almost 11 years ago. I decided for myself the one evidence for A Course in Miracles that I most wanted for myself was to find joy, not just contentment and be okay, but to find joy. And so I'm still on that quest. I'm not done with it yet, but I feel like I'm on the path, and it's a wonderful journey. Kathy?
I love this. It's like a litmus test when you go out, and if you're joyful in the world, then you know you're on the right path. If you're not, then you're perceiving the ego, right? I love that. And I was reading this morning, and the end of chapter 4 and 5, it says that love and joy, there is no difference. And it says to heal is to make happy. So it also says that if we're offering healing, every part of the sonship benefits equally. So no matter where we're at, what we're doing, if we're offering love and joy and we're in happiness, we're doing the right thing, I think. And this is beautiful. This is a way for us to tell if we're in anxiety, fear, there's something that we need to adjust, right? Or pray about.
It is very much so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Very true, Kathy. Atisha?
Oh, I think Noelle had her hand up before me.
I know.
Okay. Just really quickly though, just to piggyback on what Kathy just said, if we're leading with love and joy, is that what opens the door to miracles? I'm seeing heads nod.
Well, it sounds right. But there's subtle aspects to it there that we would say love and joy would become natural to those living a miraculous life. That miracles come about by being in a miracle state of mind and following the leading of spirit. When the situation arises for a miracle to happen, you are listening to guidance and follow that guidance. You become an active participant in a miraculous moment, and that brings joy. And much more can be said on that. So it's a good question. What brings that love and joy? There are in miracles, there are conditions for love and joy to happen. And one of the ones that we'll focus most on is you must be at peace to experience love and joy. Said another way, if you are torn within, it serves as an obstacle to joy and love. You must have inner peace to experience the love and joy without interference. Noelle, thank you for your patience.
I would say also to have forgiveness, to have no resentment is part of that.
Yes.
What I also wanted to say was that one teaching says the purpose of our lives is joy.
Yes. It is, because our lives were initiated by the Creator, and the Creator definitely had love and joy in mind when he created us. And therefore we are given a purpose to live lives of love and joy. Very true. Susie?
I just would love to add that, as defined by the Course, a miracle is a change in, I'll just use first person, my thinking or my perception. So when I'm willing to have a change in my thinking, or I do have a change in my thinking, and with the help of the Holy Spirit, then I am filled with love and joy. Because I am not, before I took this course, I was not joyful and loving, as you said, was one of your intentions or goals or hopes years ago. Same with me. And because of my willingness to have a change in thinking from my, as I said, foreign language that I carried for decades, I now can experience joy. So that makes sense. But I had to be willing to have a change in my thinking before I could even experience joy.
Yes. Yeah. So this, and what Susie is referring to broadly, can be spoken about in the Course as removing the obstacles that would prevent us from experiencing love and joy. Because as Noel said, joy is natural for our being. It comes as a part of how we are created, but there are obstacles that would interfere. And that's where we have the use of our mind can either engage in those obstacles or can learn to forget them and release them and let them go. We'll take one more comment. Bonnie?
Yeah, I think in many ways, if you extend love and joy, it's really a gift you give yourself, because most of the time it comes right back to you.
Indeed, it does. Giving and receiving are one in truth, for sure. Thank you, Bonnie. All right, we'll go on now to the first section in this chapter.
Never forget, the world the sightless see must be imagined, for what it really looks like is unknown to them. They must infer what could be seen from evidence forever indirect, and reconstruct their inferences as they stumble and fall because of what they did not recognize, or walk unharmed through open doorways that they thought were closed. And so it is with you. You do not see. Your cues for inference are wrong, and so you stumble and fall down upon the stones you did not recognize, but fail to be aware you can go through the doors you thought were closed, but which stand open before unseeing eyes, waiting to welcome you. How foolish is it to attempt to judge what could be seen instead? It is not necessary to imagine what the world must look like. It must be seen before you recognize it for what it is. You can be shown which doors are open, and you can see where safety lies, and which way leads to darkness, which to light. Judgment will always give you false directions, but vision shows you where to go. Why should you guess?
This is very interesting. We want to make sure we don't miss some of the key points. So one, it talks about that we do not see. We think we see, but like the subjects in Plato's cave that are staring at a set of images and they think they know what they see is real, in truth, they're totally unaware of where those images are coming from. So they do not see, and so they stumble and fall in confusion. And then, based on the visual, where when we say see in this instance, we really mean the information that comes in through our eyes and gets processed, passed from our optical nerve back to our optical cortex, I think it is. We're talking about that. And then based on that, attempt to judge what it is that we see. This would be considered a basic human behavior. What your eye, seeing is believing, we were taught. Seeing is believing. If I see it with my eyes, then I'll believe it. And so, which really means is once we see it, then we'll judge what it means to us. We'll interpret it. And this is where the laws of perception comes in, because now we're interpreting what comes into our eyes. We're deciding what is meaningful or not meaningful, worthy or not worthy. And so it is an enormous reversal from that to then say that what really matters is the truth that lies within you, seeing the truth that lies within you first, and then using that as the basis for recognizing and acknowledging what happens in the world. That the process more properly begins with a soulful insight as to what is meaningful and what matters most. And only then can we, from that basis, then look out into the world and understand what we're seeing. Then you can be shown which doors are open and see where safety lies. I really see, perhaps it's me, it really just reminds me of Plato's cave here, where then they are released from their chains and try to find the door out of the cave, where away from the darkness and into the light. But it's not necessary to view this that way, but it's interesting that even Plato recognized this process of illusions and interpreting the images in front of our face as being the reality. So, where are we going with this? Vision shows you where to go. And this was what we covered in chapter 20, was the Holy Spirit's vision. We're going to really explore it in much more detail in this chapter. It's the Holy Spirit provides a new perception, a new way of looking at yourself, at life itself, all your relationships, et cetera, and takes the guesswork out of what you're seeing.
Judgment will always give you false directions, but vision shows you where to go. Why should you guess? There is no need to learn through pain, and gentle lessons are acquired joyously and are remembered gladly. What gives you happiness you want to learn and not forget. It is not this you would deny. Your question is whether the means by which the course is learned will bring to you the joy it promises. If you believed it would, the learning of it would be no problem. You are not a happy learner yet because you still remain uncertain that vision gives you more than judgment does. And you have learned that both you cannot have.
You know, it seems to me, this really gets your attention. It seems to me like almost like this is a little bit confrontational, in that it says you, meaning the reader, each one of us, are not a happy learner because we don't trust the Holy Spirit's vision yet and still hold to our own judgments as guides. This is equivalent to serving two masters. You've got the Holy Spirit's vision and you got your own judgment, each of them with opposite goals, and trying to hold on to both of them. And so the question for your mind, for your free will, becomes whether the means, it's right here, your question. Let me get my cursor here. There we go. Whether the means by which this course is learned will bring you the joy it promises. So I mentioned this 14 years ago. I decided that finding the joy, that was going to be my goal. That would be my litmus test for this course. And I took it on faith that the means by which this course is learned would be effective. How to say that I was going to give it a try based on faith alone, to believing that this course can bring the joy it promises. If you believe that it would bring you the joy, then learning it would be easy, not difficult, would be no problem. And I truly, this was a big shift for me. I'm not really trying to talk about myself so much as talk about the shift from not trusting or being half-hearted in believing that these promises could be true for me. I decided that it really came down to how can one find happiness in this world? And this was the best shot I had at it. And that I was willing to trust it and believe it by faith, not having yet experienced it, but that I would take a leap of faith and believe that the means of the course are real. I want to wrap up talking about myself to say I'm far more confident now. Now it's not so much of a matter of faith and trust as it is I have confidence. I could say the confidence of in miracles, I have adopted it as my own confidence. I truly believe this is the only way for permanent happiness leading to joy at the means of this course. I should say, let me correct myself. This is the fastest way. I think I just said it was the only way. This is the fastest way that is available to us for finding peace and joy. All right, let's go on.
Can I say something?
Please do. Help me.
You don't need help, but can you guys see this on my book?
It's a little blurry. It's not in focus.
No, but you see the black line here?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So very few places in the textbook have I made an additional line or something or starring in the outside the material itself in the edge column. But this is one of the paragraphs in which I have annotated as particularly meaningful and important to me. And I know we don't like to talk about 12-step programs, but I'm going to make a comparison. In the AA 12 steps things, it says after step 9, there are certain promises that are going to happen in your life. And before you get there, I remember before I ever got there, I was saying, oh yeah, right. We're going to be able to get that out of this, these stupid meetings and stuff. No way. And yet by pursuing the program and learning and going through it and maintaining it, absolutely those promises came true. So here is another situation in which my ego has the exact same reaction, that the course, if I learn this course, I'll get the joy that it promises. And then it says, if you believed it, the learning of it would be no problem. Now that is like an incision into my being, because I'm trying to learn it, so it is a problem, which tells me that I really don't believe yet that the course will bring me the joy it promises. Therefore, I'm not a happy learner because I'm still uncertain. All right. Not that vision gives you more than judgment does. I certainly know that. And I know you can't have both, but it's been very difficult for me to have the faith to drop the vision. I mean, to drop the judgment and say, this is what, the vision is all I need. I just have to be honest. It's just been difficult for me. And I'm trying. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful, David. Thank you. What I heard you say, it's hard to drop the judgment. And
yeah.
there is no doubt that becomes on this world and in this life, all of us are in a process of weaning ourselves from being the judge, and will continue to be until the last judgment. So it's somewhat inevitable that there's a not that you'll be that you won't decline in your investment in judgments, but that it will be with you until you decide you're done with it. And after people make that decision, they don't spend very long on this world, because there's nothing more to learn after that. Kathy?
The two thoughts that came to me is that complete forgiveness leads to the last judgment.
Yes.
So, and I know that's easier said than done. And then to hear the voice for the Holy Spirit, what I do is I practice the 3 lessons of the Holy Spirit. And whenever I'm stuck, I go back to those because I want to hear Holy Spirit's truth. Because that's the truth that we're talking about here. And it is incredibly amazing to hear his voice periodically, right? Not every day. I try to hear his voice. I try to be in quiet so I can hear him. And it comes from left field a lot of times to me. It's not the usual thoughts, not my usual thinking. It comes in a different way. And I question it, but it's like, you got to step out onto that invisible step. It's Rumi's step, his invisible path. And to me, it is anyway. And it's like awkward. I don't know what the word exactly is. It's different. It's awkward. But that's when you know, because it's like, that it's not you, speaking.
Yeah. So I might add a little bit there. It's leading the Holy Spirit will be like a creative thought I've never had before. All of a sudden, it's there. Oh, it's not like it was stored in my memory and it just came back up. It's like, oh, really? That's novel way of looking at things, but boy, it feels right. It feels like this is guidance. And so I've come to both love and trust that experience, as you were alluding to, Kathy, as well. You learn to recognize that you can trust that voice. All right. Thank you all for your contributions. Let's go on.
And I just recognized in my share, I said, I'm trying so hard. And the truth is, as it says in the text, You need not do anything. There is no trying hard. The blind become accustomed to their world by their adjustments to it. They think they know their way about in it. They learned it not through joyous lessons, but through the stern necessity of limits they believed they could not overcome. And still believing this, they hold those lessons dear and cling to them because they cannot see. They do not understand. The lessons keep them blind. This they do not believe. And so they keep the world they learn to see in their imagination, believing that their choice is that or nothing. They hate the world they learn through pain. And everything they think is in it serves to remind them that they are incomplete and bitterly deprived. Thus, they define their life where they live, adjusting to it as they think they must, afraid to lose the little that they have. And so it is with all who see the body as all they have and all their brothers have. They try to reach each other and they fail and fail again. And they adjust to loneliness, believing that to keep the body is to save the little that they have.
It's happened so often that we have some sharing on a paragraph, really heartfelt sharing of experiences. And then the next paragraph, amazingly, speaks to what people poured out from their heart in a way that it's hard to anticipate how that could happen. And so David shared about letting go of judgment, which we acknowledge every one of us until we get to the point of the last judgment is somewhere in a process of weaning ourselves away from believing that we have a right to be the judge and trusting the Holy Spirit. And so I believe it refers to that, talking about the learning that we've all encountered, but not from joyous lessons, talking about frightful learning, painful learning, making adjustments to the chaos of the world. We learned in an environment where we're trying to adjust to a chaotic world, and still believing this, we hold those lessons dear. They're in our memory. They're years of experience. Hold those lessons and cling to them, but not understanding that those lessons they obscure our vision. They keep us blind from seeing the Holy Spirit's point of view. And in fact, from a point of view of my little identity, I don't even want to believe that I've got it all wrong and that I'm terribly mistaken. And so by the way, I see myself in this. I'm not trying to point out anything about anybody else. This is true for me. And so I keep the world I've learned so I can continue to see things in my own mind, believing that those choices are valid and real. After all, my experience in the world that's what it shows, is that those beliefs cling on to them. And as a result, because these are lessons learned in a chaotic world of fear, as a result, I hate the world I learned through pain. I'm self-critical of a world in pain and misery and hopelessness, and everything that in the world seems to remind me that this life is incomplete. So what are we really saying is this is a thought system. In computer language, it would be like loading an operating system onto a computer. And the computer runs with all those operating instructions. According to that, our mind has loaded in these lessons that we learned by adjusting ourselves to a chaotic world. And so the hope that is possible is that you can uninstall that operating system, the ego beliefs, and that the Holy Spirit is eager to help you install her operating system, her vision, let her be the judge of life, of purpose, of meaning. And so that requires a profound trust in the source of where you get your operating system. A profound trust. And I will point out before we take comments that we trusted our ego to install the operating system. Well, how did that go? If your choice is between sticking with the ego's operating system or trusting by faith the Holy Spirit's operating system, well, you get to decide. That's your choice to make. Susie?
Okay, I'm going to share something. I'm pretty blown away, but before I do, I too have something in the column here, and it's this paragraph that I realized last year that I was adjusting to my very sad reality. So I remember last year when we read this thinking, wow, I have made my whole story true.
Mhm.
And then I adjusted to it. But what really, I just had a blown away aha moment that I've been searching for the answer for 41 years. I never experienced joy. This is the truth. Here's the God honest truth. When my children were born, and I used to wonder, like, why is everybody else so joyful? Why does everybody else think it's a miracle and they're so happy? And I wasn't joyful. You know, my internal condition was based on my external, I internally wasn't joyful.
Mhm.
So the truth is, I didn't experience joy because I wasn't a joyful person with a lot of love in my life, and I was adjusting to my reality. And now I can really see that if I let go of all of that and just have the Holy Spirit as my guide, it's like the paragraph before. It really is very easy. If I let go of all the stories that I made up about myself that were real for me at the time, do my lessons, be willing to learn a new language, a new way of thinking, and I can experience joy today. But yeah, I just had to share that because it was like, oh, that's why I didn't have joy. Because the outside experience can't bring me joy. Even the birth of my children cannot bring me joy unless I have joy within. And yeah, that's pretty heavy. So thanks for letting me share that.
Oh, that's really an amazing share there, Susie, and an exquisite illustration of what we're reading about today. Thank you. David?
Yeah, I share the same feelings. From the time I awake in the morning, very aware of the feelings that arise in me are a result mostly of my egoic thoughts. And it's an automatic judgmental thoughts about the world and consequently myself. And like you said, Jonaca, this thought system is automatic because the ego, in my experience, always speaks first. I'm horrified sometimes at what it says, but that judgment is from the ego. So really, how you let go of those thoughts first thing in the morning, and then through the day is really the art of living. I think that we're all trying to figure out because the ego is always going to speak first, and it's just how we, as Susie said, let go of it. And there's all kinds of different words that they use. I I think that's where I really need to find the faith when I can't seem to let go. I seek to have that faith. So thank you, Jonaca.
Thank you, David. Noel?
With the new operating system of the course, for me, there are many ways in. It's like, which came first, the chicken or the joy? There's many ways. I can forgive, I can reaffirm, to address what David just said. I can ask Holy Spirit to guide me, to take away those egoic thoughts. I can feel gratitude. Any positive thought or emotion can lead to the joy of living. That's certainly what I keep practicing and realizing.
Thank you, Noel. Bonnie?
Yeah, I'm having a little problem. Isn't judgment a facility of the brain? Isn't that part and parcel of the way we're wired up? I like to turn it all over to the vision of the Holy Spirit, and I believe that's the best route. But is that negating who we really are?
That is an excellent question. And Bonnie, I want to answer it in two ways. One, it would seem so. What you just said would seem that way. And in fact, the Course teaches as long as we continue to operate through a mode of perception where we're interpreting what is going on, judgment is inevitable on that. So there's much to what you say, Bonnie. Yes, really all of humanity is operating according to perception and is therefore judging. The question then, though, is that the way we were meant to be? Is that the best we can be? Is that what God's will is for us to be? And then we get a different answer. And that is that God doesn't want us, I'm sticking within the Course of Miracles here, that God's plan for us is not to be interpreting and judging our experiences. God's plan is for us to be wired into his will and his mind at one so that we would know what we're dealing with and not be relying on interpretations based on lessons we learned in fear. So the entire premise of Bonnie, your question is really, really good. The entire premise of this course is that these judgments that seem to be natural were based upon a starting point of adjusting ourselves to a world of chaos and fear. And that is not natural.
So that's where we draw the line. If fear comes into the analysis, it's the ego. I mean, we're not saying we can't determine, I like broccoli, I don't like spinach. I think
Right.
I'll wear the yellow socks today, not the blue ones.
Yeah, where,
So when fear enters into the equations, that's where we draw the line.
yes, yes. And fear there, that word, you're right, Bonnie. And that word fear will symbolize a whole set of thoughts that have to believe, for instance, that I'm not lovable, that I'm born worthless, that my being has no meaning. So it's fear and all its associates that would diminish our worth and our lovability in any way. Yeah.
I tend to go the other way. Since I was a teacher for so many years, I feel like I have the answers and they don't. I tend to not feel myself unworthy, but to feel myself more elevated.
Right. But I know also, Bonnie, while you recognize that, you also know better. You also know that there's the deeper truth is that we are still learners and we are still trying to figure it out, and God's not done with us yet.
Right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your, you guys are amazing. Getting together in this format is astounds me, what the soul felt moments that we experienced together. Susie?
Just have to share this one thing really quickly. Like, I just realized, like, I don't have to feel guilty anymore. I understand now. I used to feel guilty, like, why does everybody else experience joy and I don't, and I didn't? And now I know, oh, I get it. I just was adjusting to my own sad reality. I didn't know any better. I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of loveless thoughts, but now I'm okay. And now I have been relieved of, I don't have to feel guilty. I've been carrying this in my thought system for so long, like, oh, like, it's like Heather says, my poofer, it's gone. I understand. What a phenomenal course this is, you know. So I just had to share that. You get an insight and then like the guilt is gone.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we were innocent in our learning these lessons of fear. It's for a way I always experienced, I felt like I'm the one who drew the short stick. And therefore, I learned fear and guilt and judgment. And it turns out all the sticks were the same length. But I thought I had the short one, and so it comes back to our sense of we are innocent. There's no wronging that we've done there. All right, we'll take one more comment and then we need to go on. David W., you had your hand up?
Yes, either yesterday or today's lesson was forgiveness is a gift I give myself. And so I was just thinking, that's really the thing I need to give myself first thing in the morning, to myself. Thanks, Susie.
David, that's a great insight. Practice that, my brother. That will really, because I know we've talked about this before, first thought in the morning. That one is a really good foot to start off on. Yep. What we are about to read is one of the most beautiful poetic invitations you could find.
Listen and try to think if you remember what we will speak of now. Listen, perhaps you catch a hint of an ancient state not quite forgotten, and the circumstances in which you heard completely unremembered. Not the whole song has stayed with you, but just a little wisp of melody, attached not to a person or a place or anything particular. But you remember from just this little part how lovely was the song, how wonderful the setting where you heard it, and how you loved those who were there and listened with you. The notes are nothing, yet you have kept them with you, not for themselves, but as a soft reminder of what would make you weep if you remembered how dear it was to you. You could remember, yet you are afraid, believing you would lose the world you learned since then. And yet you know that nothing in the world you learned is half so dear as this. Listen and see if you can remember an ancient song you knew so long ago and held more dear than any melody you taught yourself to cherish since.
Wow, I just love that. And beyond just the poetic words and the lovely words, because words that have no meaning are shallow, what are they saying here? There's this forgotten song that we knew so well, an ancient song. Well, how, before I was born, song. Actually, it's a heavenly song. We'll later find it's a song of prayer from heaven. And we're being invited to remember it again, for it brings joy with it. And the question then is, well, how am I going to remember something that I was existing before I was born? How? Well, listen. The Holy Spirit, it's a spiritual calling to your soul. And so you have to listen with your soul to this calling, for love is calling you back to return to love. But it speaks through your soul, not through your ears. And so it's a deep listening. The workbook lessons would have you learn to sit quietly and be patient and be present and listen to this song. And I'm not asserting that you're going to hear a melody of notes, such as we classically would think of it, a song, and where there's a refrain and all like that. It's instead, think of it as a spiritual song, meaning it exists on the spiritual plane of reality beyond words, but yet it still calls your heart and soul to unite with it. It's when we read in chapter 19 about the obstacles to peace, it's the love beyond the veil that is calling you back, calling you home. And there's nothing in this world that you learned that is half so dear as this. I'm inserting my own art here.
Beyond the body, beyond the sun and stars, past everything you see, and yet somehow familiar, is an arc of golden light that stretches as you look into a great and shining circle. And all the circle fills with light before your eyes. The edges of the circle disappear, and what is in it is no longer contained at all. The light expands and covers everything, extending to infinity, forever shining and with no break or limit anywhere. Within it, Everything is joined in perfect continuity, nor is it possible to imagine that anything could be outside, for there is nowhere that this light is not.
And I want to acknowledge Chat GPT, our artificial intelligence, for helping with this graphic image. So there's a light that is calling us from beyond the world, past everything you see, past time and space, past words, past all the thoughts of this world. There's a light that is calling. David?
This is the vision of the Son of God, whom you know well. Here is the sight of him who knows his Father. Here is the memory of what you are, a part of this, with all of it within, and joined to all as surely as all is joined in you. Accept the vision that can show you this, and not the body. You know the ancient song, and know it well. Nothing will ever be as dear to you as is this ancient hymn the Son of God sings to his Father still. And now the blind can see, for that same song they sing in honor of their Creator gives praise to them as well. The blindness that they made will not withstand the memory of this song, and they will look upon the vision of the Son of God, remembering who he is they sing of. What is a miracle but this remembering? And who is there in whom this memory lies not? The light in one awakens it in all. And when you see it in your brother, you are remembering for everyone.
Oh, that's interesting. That last line, I think it was Kathy that reminded us that when you forgive one brother, you are forgiving them all. And so that's echoed here because it's the same light in each one of us. So there is, on the spiritual plane, there's no doubt all this is true, that there's light there, that there's an eternal calling, that you are wanted, you are a part of that, you have a special place in that home. Way we say it, there's a place for you in God's mind that is held just for you, and that you are wanted to be a full participant there. The question really here is, it says, so here is the memory of what you are, a part of this, with all of it within, and joined to all as sure as all is joined in you. It's a spiritual fact that you are a part of it. But each of us has a judgment that we are not, that we are separate, that we are inadequate or unworthy. That has many versions and variations that basically come down to say you don't belong as part of holy innocence, the holy family of God. There's a judgment in the mind learned in this world that says, I don't belong. And that judgment, once we let that final judgment about ourselves go, then the path is clear, we are free completely of judgment once we let that go. It's a judgment about ourselves. And as the Course points out, you're not free until you're completely free. You're not free if you're only partially free. I consider myself partially free, but not completely free. Still have these lingering judgments. And so that would all suggest that the sooner we get to forgiving the illusions of this world, the illusions that we're somehow are being punished or condemned for in this world, the sooner we forgive that and we focus on our inner world and the beliefs that we accept in our minds about ourselves, the sooner we can get to that state of last judgment, which would free us completely and allow us to remember the eternal song. Bonnie?
I love that analogy, but yesterday I was watching the History Channel. I like to do that. And there was, I believe it was a Greek who was the master of music. And what he did was turn the vibrations of the universe into musical notes. And it was beautiful. It was in sets of 12. And he actually was able to take those vibrations and transform them into music. So in my mind, this is more than just an analogy.
Interesting. You're saying there are people now who are so talented that they've learned ways of interpreting what the universe signals in the music. Wow,
Yeah.
that's
I mean, he actually they played some of it. It was beautiful. And I really think that if you have the ears to hear it, and if you are schooled enough to know about it, that it's real and more than an analogy.
Wow, that's amazing. I look forward to hearing more about that.
I think she's saying that the notes of the universe, the notes from God, are available to all of us every moment. And
Yeah.
how we interpret them creates the song of our lives. And
Beautifully said.
Yeah. Lovely. So to bring this lovely time to tie a bow in it, this is about a song of joy. This was dedicated in memory of Julie Kessler. The world you see but shows you how much joy you have allowed yourself to see in it and to accept as yours. And if this is its meaning, then the power to give it joy must lie within you. So it is a beautiful opportunity. The invitation call is there to all to receive, to participate in the ancient song, which is a song of joy. The power is already given us. There's nothing more needed from God. The entire free will dynamic has to do with our willingness to accept only this and not the adjustments that the lessons that the world has taught. It's a big shift into a new perceptual system that offers the most happiness and satisfaction that the world can offer. That's as far as we're going to go today, but that felt really miraculous. That was a celebration of life. And we were all part of it. Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. I feel so privileged to be a part of all of it. Thank you, David, for reading. Thank you all for your sharing. We look forward to getting again real soon. Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you. very
Thank
much.
you, Jonaca. Thank you, David.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you,
very much.
group.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much.
everybody, for your inputs.
Yes, beautiful. Peace and love.
Peace and love indeed.
God bless.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace, love, and joy.
Peace, love, and joy.